Good morning and good evening, everyone. Happy Dasara. Welcome back. So last week we discussed Jenkins shared libraries and we configured it. Jenkins shared library is nothing but keeping the pipelines in a central location like GitHub. Okay, so the advantages is you can implement all the best standards in a single place and you can force everyone to follow those standards by calling your pipelines. Okay, and then if a change needs to be done, you can do it in a single place that can be reflected in each and every pipeline. Okay, we don't need to insert our pipeline code in a developer, so we can keep the pipelines in a central location. So those are the advantages of Jenkins shared libraries, and we were using Groovy syntax, and then yeah, we wrote the libraries and then we configured it inside Jenkins, and we were able to call like this. Okay, this is the definition. You can now configure the shared libraries location in your manage Jenkins and system configuration. Then you call here. So while calling, you can send some parameters and the values. Okay, so that's how we completed that. And then after that, we started discussing on identity access management. Okay, so this identity access management is not a AWS concept, it's a basically universal concept. And then, so there we have authentication and authorization. And every system will have generally user, like username and password. That is for authentication, and he will have some roles. Like what are the role of the employee? Either he's a team member or team leader, team manager, or CEO, CTO, or chairman, something like that. Okay, every role will have some permissions. This is the general concept. Okay, so when it comes to the AWS, everything here we have resources. You can control any user inside AWS. You can control the access. Okay, which particular EC2 instance he can. And that is the noun, right? Resource or noun, and what actions he can perform on the resource, whether he can create the resource, he can update the resource, he can delete the resource, or he can view the resource. Basically, thread, create, read, update, delete on the resources. Okay, so we created one Terraform user and we configured the Terraform user in a Jenkins agent or in our laptop, okay, to create the resources. But that user needs username and password, right? So you like secret key and access key. Now let me create one more user just to understand the IAM concept. Okay. So ideally, we are using Terraform to create the resources, but we don't want our employees to create the resources through the console. Okay, only read access through console. So maybe a trainee and fresher joined in our project, we want to give him access to the AWS. Since he's new to the technology, we don't want create or update or delete access to him. We just want to give view access to him. Okay, so let me create user here. You come here and then you create some username like fresher. Provide a user access to the console. Yeah, we want him to access through the console. Click this. And I want to create IAM user. And let me have some custom password. Sure, something like this. So if you click this, you are forcing him to create new password when he sign in. Okay, so just click next. And then you can create the group generally, or else you can attach the policies directly. Let me have some policy. Amazon only read-only policy. For example, you can see Amazon EC2 read-only access. I'm giving Hot access here, you can see this. Only read-only access for all EC2 services. EC2, Elastic Load Balancing, CloudWatch, and then auto scaling. Everything is getting read-only access. Entire account read-only access also available. Yeah, let us see that later. So this is the permission you are giving him, and click next and create user. Okay, so now this is the URL he has to sign in. Okay, let me go to incognito. And then username, and password. So now he logged in. Now you can see which access he will have. Let me go to IAM access. Let me go to IAM. You can see he's not able to access IAM. Let us go to any other service like Route 53. He's not able to access this one also. You can see the error message. Now let us go to EC2. Okay, he is able to access EC2. He can read the information, but let us see whether he is able to launch the instance or not. You can see he's not able to create. So this is how you can generally create the users and assign the permissions. So in AWS, we have the permissions generally available, or permissions or policies. We can create policy on our own as well. Okay. So you can choose a service and then you can create. So usually you will have groups. For example, if any other user joined, right? If any other user joined, like 10 freshers, so you cannot give the permission to him individually. Generally, in that case, what you do here, you will create user group. For example, trainee group. Okay. So instead of adding the permission to the user directly, so this is the best way. Create group, add permissions to group, right? So here group is nothing but like what is his position generally. Like all freshers will create one group, add permissions to the group. Now, whenever a new employee is added, add user to group. Automatically, he will get group permissions. This is the concept. Not only in AWS, everywhere we do this. We create a group, we will assign the permissions to the group, and then whenever a new employee is added or whenever a new employee is exited, we will either add him to the group or we will remove him from the group. Okay. So now here, add users to the group. Generally, let me add permission. Create group. So group is created, and inside users, let me remove his permissions here. Now you can add him to the group directly. Right? If any new user is added, like training or fresher 2, provide him the console access. Want to create the user, something like this. Next. Now, instead of attaching the policies directly, you can add him to the group so that he will get the access directly. So this is how generally we create the human users. And we had one use case. So how we were doing it generally. So we had one workstation. We were creating instances and Route 53 records through workstation, right? If you remember how we did this generally, like in our Jenkins agent also, we had a user with admin access, like Terraform. So we get secret key and access key. So the secret key and access key is intended usually for the humans, right? But here we have EC2 instance, like in any system, either we can create credentials for users, or you can create credentials for resources itself. Like this is my resource. Now this resource wants to create another resource like EC2 and Route 53. So I want a EC2 instance to create few other instances or any other resource. This is the concept. A resource inside AWS can create other resources. Instead of create, can access other resources. So this is what I have. This is what I want. Okay, I have two options: create a user and configure it inside EC2 using AWS configure. Okay. So what are the disadvantages here? Once your credentials are exposed, hackers will have full access. Right? So if you want to keep it safe, generally, what is the recommendation? User has to frequently change credentials. But when you change credentials, what you have to do again, run AWS configure and update the credentials, right? So this is what you have to do. So because of these two advantages, AWS is giving us another approach, that is use roles instead of users directly. So what is this role? User is human. Like I want to access my AWS console. My name is Sivakumar Reddy. I have to access the console using Sivakumar Reddy user. But if you are creating access for EC2 instance, you have to give role, non-humans. Okay. So what we have to do here, create a role for EC2. So this is like EC2 is non-human, and attach that role to EC2. So this is what you have to do. So AWS always says use roles wherever it is possible. What is the advantage here? AWS will frequently rotate the credentials automatically. We no need to do anything. Okay. We no need to run AWS configure. We no need to give the credentials manually. We no need to do anything. Everything is taken care by AWS. We rotate the credentials that we even don't feel it. So everything will be handled by AWS. So now let us see one example. I will create one instance here. My workstation. To my group, proceed with the keypad, security group, allow all, then launch instance. Still pending. It's still pending. Is there any restrictions on the account? Sometimes your AWS account will have some limits that we need to request to increase the limit actually. So for now, let me stop this. or else let me take any other instance. For example, this one. Any instance generally, just want one instance. So now I want to create instance, AWS create instance command. You take this. Let me take this. This is the command to create the AWS instance. Generally, these are all optional. My ID instance type. The instance type is not optional. Let me keep the instance type. Keep is optional. Security group is also optional. Let us see whether we can create the instance. So what is it saying? Unable to locate credentials. We can configure credentials by running AWS configure. So we can do that. We know this very well. We can run AWS configure, give your security key and access key, then you will able to create the instance. But I don't want this because of these two disadvantages. Okay. So if once your credentials are exposed, hackers will have full access, and then users has to change the credentials frequently. You have to run again and again AWS configure every 10 days or every 1 week. So that's a big headache. So instead of that, create a role and assign the role to that EC2 instance, because EC2 instance is a non-human. Okay. EC2 don't want any access to log into the AWS account, right? So EC2 is a non-human. So non-humans, if they don't, obviously they don't need any console access. They can create a role, send the permissions, and then give that to the EC2. Let us see how can we do that. Go to IAM. Here first, I want to create a role. Create a role. So whom you are creating the role? So I'm not creating for any human. I'm creating for AWS services or resources. So that is for EC2. I'm creating role for EC2. Next. And then what access you want. For example, I want EC2 access. Amazon EC2 full access. You can give admin, but it's not required. So generally security, what it says, keep the thin access. Thin access is nothing but I want EC2 to create another EC2. You don't need administrator access, right? So you can keep the access as thin as possible. So that is what the rule says. I just want EC2 access, so I'm giving EC2 access. You can give administrator access, but that is like giving too many permissions. That may cause you problem. Go to next and EC2 admin role. You can give any name you want and then create role. So you got the role. EC2 admin role. Now you go to the instance like Nexus here, actions, and you can see security, modify IAM role. Right now, no role is attached. And if you click here, you will get automatically. So EC2 admin role and then update. So now your EC2 instance, you created a role and then assigned a permission to that role, that EC2 full access, and you added that role to the EC2 instance. Now EC2 should be able to create the instance. Now you can see it's not the error earlier you have seen. This is not the authentication problem. This is something else. So let us use that image ID. Well, what is our image ID? So we have it, right? Is it site Terraform? This our image ID. Let me take anything. This is the image ID. ID. Now you can see the instance will be creating here. You can see instance is getting created here. So how you got the access? Because you created the role, you assigned the permissions to the role, and you added that role to the EC2 instance. Okay. So not only EC2, any resource inside AWS, if a resource one has to access resource two, obviously you need to give the permissions. So while giving permissions, creating role and assigning that role is the best option AWS always recommends. So this may be a good interview question. So what is the role in AWS? What is the difference between role and user? Role, you can say, we can generally we create roles for non-humans. Like if a EC2 instance wants to access Route 53 or SSM parameters stored, we will create a role for that EC2 instance and we will assign that role to the EC2 instance. Then EC2 can get the access to the resources. Here the advantages are you no need to rotate, everything is taken care by the AWS. Right? That is the concept. Now, what is our use case here? What is our use case? We are installing catalog in EC2. Okay, and catalog needs to access configuration stored in SSM parameter store. So where is our SSM parameter store? Let us go here. Here we have MongoDB URL. RoboShop dev MongoDB URL. So here we have it. So catalog, we are referring, what is it? Catalog, roles, catalog, and then template. Here we have MongoDB URL. So instead of hard coding generally, so what you can do, you can dynamically fetch it from the AWS. Why we are doing this? It's a general concept. So we are developing application. Apps need configurations like DB, URL, username, password, and any other system configurations, right? Etc. So generally DB, URL, username, password, these are frequently changing, right? Please respond in the chat. So do you think these are same through like for an year or for 2 years? Is it good practice to change the username and password or not? So it's a good practice generally to change the username and password. And we have a dispatch service. Dispatch is a third party service. So whenever they want, they will change the username and password, right? So it is always good practice to change the application configuration. That is like your usernames, passwords, and other system URLs, something like that, whatever it is. So whenever you change the configuration, if you hard code here, what you have to do, you have to come here, you have to change it again, and then you need to go for full deployment. So now let us write this. If configuration is hard coded, whenever there is a change in config, application has to be rebuilt and redeployed. So ideally, when the application should go for deployment, when there is a change in code only. So do you think changing the configuration, we should go for deployment? Is it a good practice? So it's not a good practice. If you just change the configuration, it's not a good practice to go for deployment again. Unnecessary deployments, we don't encourage, right? So what is the best option here? So always keep the config separately from application code. Prefer config dynamically. This is the best practice, and it is very important to implement. So now what we are doing, we are keeping the configuration in SSM parameters show. I'm letting the application to go and fetch the configuration dynamically. Okay. So what is the advantage you get? If config is changed, just restart the application. It will fetch new value automatically. Okay, you no need to change the code. You no need to go for full CI/CD process. You just change, restart the application. It will fetch it automatically. So that is the advantage. So in our last session, we have seen. So this is how your AWS playbook generally will have the template, and this one is lookup Amazon SSM. So Ansible is able to contact SSM parameter store. Where are we running Ansible? Is it in EC2 or something else? Ansible is accessing SSM means obviously EC2 is accessing, right? So now catalog EC2 instance needs to access SSM parameter store. So one option is AWS configure. So that is not recommended. So that's what we were saying. So another best option is create a role for EC2, give SSM access. So if you don't give the role, do you think this will work? If you don't attach the role to the EC2 instance, do you think this will work? So it will not work. So as part of the infrastructure, I have to create the role. Now let me go to the here, and then I'm just creating another folder, or let me create directly. Can create anywhere, but generally let me keep it. I am, and then provider. I am just keeping it. I am, and then here what I have to do, first create a role. attach policies. Okay. So now let me do this through the Terraform. Terraform, I am role. Main.tf. So I'm creating a role for catalog. Catalog EC2 role. Okay, just keeping it like this. And then, so obviously you are creating role for EC2, right? So that's what it is. So let me take the reference of our role we just created. EC2 admin role. So what this one? Trust relationship is nothing but you created this role for EC2. So this is the service. So the same thing, that is this one here. Okay, I'm creating role for EC2. So now tags, let me keep the tag Terraform tool. Let me give it as dev, okay, Terraform tool. Just we are doing it, creating the role, and then after the role, we have to give the policy. How can we give the policy here? This is assume role policy. So here we are giving inline, but I don't want inline policy. Managed policy ARX. This is the one. So what is the SSM role policy here? You can go here and then just search SSM. Now we will have SSM read-only policy. You can see here, Amazon SSM read-only policy. Okay, you can copy this one. So this will not change. Okay? This is generally AWS created policies. You can always hard code or you can keep it. Okay, like this. Let me check what is the type. Okay, so you can attach multiple policies also, but I am attaching Amazon SSM read-only access. So this is managed completely by AWS. This policy is generally by default created by AWS. You can use it. If you want policy also, you can create the policy. Okay, but we don't need some unnecessary policies to be created. If you have available, you can use them. If you don't have available, you can always create another your own policy, that is custom policy. Okay, so I'm creating a role for catalog EC2. and then dev and attach the policy. Okay, so now let me create this. Terraform init. Terraform lamp. Let me keep variables here. Here I can refer. Okay, I'm creating one role for catalog. So let me apply. Okay, it is created. Let us check here. Role, catalog, EC2, dev. Can check the permissions is given. SSM read-only access. So now this EC2 you can attach to the. Now just select anything and then go for security modify IAM role. Now it is listed here. If it is not listed here means then it is not created properly. So let me go and then check it. It's good. Permissions is also good. Trust relation it is for EC2, but it should automatically reflect here. Select any EC2 instance and then just check security modify IAM role. It should be coming here. Action security modify. It is not coming here. Then something is wrong. So let me compare with other role. EC2 admin role. So something wrong here. Just let us 700, but it came as instance profile, but it came as role. Trust relationship is also same. Should not be like this. What's the difference here? Terraform and role for EC2. Let me check another documentation. It's almost same. They're creating policy separately. We can do that, but it's attached. Terraform. I am role for EC2 is not shown as instance profile. Okay, so let me remove this, create once again, and let us try. Or let me create Terraform. I am instance profile directly instead of role. Just we need to add one more resource. Just giving it as catalog underscore profile and catalog profile dot catalog dot name. Okay, so instance profile is just another resource. When you are creating through the console, it was created automatically. But through the Terraform, you need to create the role, add the policy, and then create the instance profile. Okay, that's it. So you can also see here instance profiles. So now let us apply. Now you should see this. Now you can see catalog profile is there, right? So whatever the name you give here, then it will appear here, catalog profile. Okay. So now this is the infrastructure creation. You created the role and you created the instance profile. Now, as part of this application, okay, catalog deploy Jenkins file. Here inside Terraform, and then here catalog instance. Here you need to attach the profile, right? So Terraform EC2. This is module. Terraform EC2 module. So here you will have an option to attach the profile. And say I have instance profile. And just refer examples, complete main. They are not giving. You can just give catalog profile. Okay. So now this profile is attached to the catalog instance. Now when it is fetching the Ansible roles here inside templates, so this one can look up AWS SSM and it will take the RoboShop environment and then MongoDB URL. It will fetch it and then it will keep it here. So inside tasks, need to change a little bit. There is an app setup. Generally, where are we copying earlier? Is it in start application or what? So now instead of copy, it should be template. So Ansible template. Ansible built-in dot template. I'm just copying this. copy system D template. Okay. So where is it? This is catalog dot service. This is the source, and the destination is this one. Just give this the same. Just instead of copy, I'm just giving it as template. So when Ansible sees template, it will go and then it will check here and it will find, okay, I need to go for SSM and I need to fetch it. So while checking the SSM, it will check whether I have access to read the SSM or not. So that is how it will work. Okay, now let me push the changes. Okay, so I pushed the changes. Now catalog deploy. So let us run this Jenkins. Instances, Jenkins, and agent, you need to add the security group. Save it. Add the VPN also. This is the VPN. Delete the profile. Previous profiles. You don't want to delete again and again, you can go for Elastic IP. Let me access Jenkins. Let me create new catalog deploy, and it can be normal pipeline. So this catalog deploy. Is there any changes? There are changes. Pushing those changes. Get it. and then configure this one. It repository URL. So now if you build now, you have to give some parameters generally. First time it will fail. Some error. This error here. Expecting from line number 7. This error here. Can you find? Expecting this phrase, but found this one, line number 7. There are no commas. There are no commas. Okay, cancel it for the first time. If you cancel, now you have an option build with parameters. Okay, cancel this. Now we have an option build with parameters. So what are the parameters? 8081. This is Nexus. We have 1.3.0. Last time we pushed it, right? 1.3.0 is also there. Now I'm just giving 1.3.0 and dev envelope. So now these parameters will come here, and we are initializing the backend with a different configuration, that is dev, and then we are planning and we are approving it. Okay. Yes, that's it. Now let us just try. So development backend is configured. Now it will take dev TFVAX application version. So it is asking our permission. Let us approve. So AWS instance is created. Now let us see whether our instance got the instance profile access or not. It's not getting created because I think there is a limit in my account. I need to request for extra CPU. Okay, for now, I'm just removing this production workstation also. How to increase EC2 limit in AWS account. Service quotas, search for service quotas. Open this. And there is Amazon Elastic Compute Cloud EC2. And there is on demand. So what is the limit here? Is it 5 instances? Yeah. So select this. I'm increasing it to the by default. I'm able to run only 5 instances, and then I'm increasing it to the 32 instances. So it is saying 32. It was able to create something. Catalog profile is not found. What is the profile? What's the profile name? Is misspelling mistake. It is underscore. Catalog underscore profile. Okay. Sorry. Now you can run the Jenkins again. Okay. Okay, maybe sometimes you feel confused and because of because of too many integrations, like Terraform, Ansible, then now it is IAM. So if you are doing a mistake at one point also, you will not get the result. So that's how the automation is. You have to keep everything correct, then only you will get the full result. But it is one time effort. Okay? So our catalog is created. Now you can check whether the instance profile is attached or not. You can see. So this is attached. The instance is created and now our provisioning is happening. Okay, now connected. So inside this provisioning, what will happen? So we are installing. Now you understand the packages. This Boto Core and Boto 3 I installed because we need these packages for the lookup plugin, SSM lookup plugin. Because Ansible is developed on Python. Okay. So we need these Python libraries to connect with AWS. Here another mistake we did. We didn't pass the environment, but here environment we have to pass. By default it is dev, but you can do it from here also. Okay, because inside our template, so I have a variable env. So either you give the variable here inside this one, this is the default. So I am passing this through the Jenkins file. So now we may get error here because it will unable to look out. So we discussed many times Ansible variables. You have many places to keep the variables, but when it comes to the role, you can keep the common variables here inside catalog, and then there is a vars folder. This is where we are keeping all the variables. So you can keep the values here, but you can always override these values. If it is production environment, I can override to the catalog deploy. So now let us see. That one should fail. You can see this is fail. env is undefined. So if env is undefined, so it is searching everywhere, all the possible locations. It is checking inside rows, it is checking in the play, it is checking at the task, it is checking everywhere, but it is not found. So we need to push it once again. Rescue also in the planning stage. Okay. Now this one is still running. If you run this, it will directly connect. Rebuild. There. Now it is connected, it is installed. In the interview, so in this entire CI/CD process, they may ask you a question at any place. If you practice this one, the full process, you can easily answer any scenario-based questions. Again, in error. Okay, so a region. Again, we need to do something that is region. Just take the Ansible, AWS system. lookup. It's not considering our Terraform region. So let us give it US East 1. Okay, so lookup plugin, it needs this one and then name of your parameter and which region. Okay. And once again, push it. Again, go for deployment. This time let's hope it is success. Okay, this is success now. Copy, and we can see ultimately once the instances, all the instances have that. So let us have few questions. For today, what we achieved. So today we learned IAM and then assign role to EC2 through Terraform to access SSM parameter based on environment. Okay. Now, when you go for production deployment, obviously we will pass production as an environment, and then it is able to fetch SSM parameters for a production. Okay. So we have the production infrastructure ready. We have the production infrastructure ready. So I need to add this IAM again here. and we will see the full CI/CD from dev to production, maybe in tomorrow's session. Just write this one. So in this session, we will obviously get the catalog instances. Let us see whether it has the MongoDB URL properly or. Let us have few questions now. Durga Prasad. Durga Prasad. You can unmute. Shodhara. Hello.
Hi, Shiv. This is the
Yeah, hi.
good morning.
Yeah, hi. Durga.
Yeah,
Good morning.
we are deploy the all. Linux-based environment. Is there any possible to deploy? Microsoft database type. Okay.
Microsoft Server.
Yes. On a Windows environment, at least.
No, we are not doing that.
Okay.
Windows process is also same. Just you need to establish the connection. That's it.
Yeah, no major changes. Both environments. Linux.
The process is always same. The establishing the connection to the Linux server, establishing connection to the Windows server is different. Okay, but high level the process is always same. Maybe the Ansible playbooks of like the type of installations, right? We cannot use YAM inside Windows, no? So you have separate Ansible playbooks for Windows servers.
Yeah, okay.
To install the packages, okay?
Okay, got it. Yeah, thank you. Sure.
Sattar. Sattar, you have a question? So now our full automation is completed. Just we need to test with the production. So that maybe we can complete that in tomorrow's session. And then we can enter, we will discuss the disadvantages of VM approach, and we can enter into the containers and images. Now all this environment and the Ansible playbooks, everything, those will not be a part of containers and images. Okay. So now you have seen how much difficult it is to integrate everything. So because of these disadvantages, we are moving to the container approach. Yes, Murli Chand Tumala.
Hi, Shiva.
Yeah, hi.
So far you are doing for the catalog, this
Yeah.
one service, right, in a RoboShop project.
Yes.
Okay, so basically if we need to go through the other services like a cart payment or something, so we have to go through the this type of cycle again, right?
Yes, same process. This is
Okay.
VM process. Yeah, but but all 100% same. We almost parameterized everything. You can
Correct.
try if you have time. Okay.
Yeah.
So then
So
we will.
is there any consolidation in for all the services? Can we do like one artifact?
That is, we can do that, but that will take a lot of time for us again, right? We need to.
Okay.
Anyhow,
okay.
this is legacy process, but still I want to show you. So that's why I have shown you. But if we keep spending time on this, then our entire 3.5 months or 4 months will go for this legacy only.
Yeah, correct.
Now everybody is asking for containerization. So we will concentrate the full project on containerization. And in the interviews, you have to explain. We had the VM based approach. So slowly we move to the containerization approach because of the disadvantages. We still have one or two applications in the legacy. So I'm able to handle legacy as well as the advanced applications. Right?
Okay, got
So
it.
not all the companies will move to the containers and images because of
Yeah.
some business reasons. Maybe few companies, few projects, they are still deploying the projects into the VMs. So
Okay.
it is good if you know the both approaches.
Okay, got it. Thank you.
So now you can see the actual configuration from the SSM parameter store is pulled and placed here. Okay. Now it is success. Let us just see catalog dot hyphen slash. Now you can see it is working. So the same way we'll do for app hyphen production tomorrow, and then we can complete the full CI/CD process with full automation. Okay, but there is something change management process. Change management process. So we don't do directly just trigger. We don't do just development and then immediately going for production. We generally don't do that. Once you have the dev success, okay, production deployment is always a process of change. Okay, if you want to do some change, just think, just because of it is success in development environment, are you allowed to immediately go for production without asking for any approvals? Can you please tell me over the chat? Maybe if persons already in IT, they know the process of change, but any person who are non-IT or college students, just think in a general way. Just because development is success, do you think you will directly do the change in production of a big business? You no need to work in IT, just think in a common sense as a non-IT or career gap or college student. So just because you made it successful in development environment, you are not allowed to directly go and then do whatever you want in the production. Okay. So there is a process. The process is generally theoretical. Change management process. That is called change management process. Generally, you raise a CR ticket. This is just like a Jira. Every company will have their own change management tool, and you will write it everything. What is the change? What happened in dev? Who needs to approve? There should be multiple approvals, okay? Like your team leader, your team manager, and then usually business analysts, finally client. So while approving, so they will see a lot of things. They will see whether it happened successfully in dev, all the test cases are passed, all the scannings are passed. They will verify manually. Okay. This is as part of the verification procedure. What happened to testing? What happened to scanning? So take the testing approval, take the test manager approval. So this is a big process generally. There is a separate team, change management team dedicated for this process. So they are responsible for this entire process. Okay. So once everything is done, then you go ahead and then trigger the production. Okay. You are not allowed to do directly. So they will have some controls generally. They will have some controls. All these controls and the process has to be passed. Then only you go and then trigger the production. So just understand this process. You can You can go through any YouTube random video, what is the change management process in DevOps, something like that. So because it's not there is no general tool. Maybe we have some tools in the market change management process, but every company has their own process of this one. But ideally, this is the process while going for production, right? So dev, we made it full automation. Now can go for directly here, catalog, and then trigger this feature or whatever you are working on, and it will directly go for CI. Once the CI is successful, it will directly trigger the dev deployment, not production, and then you will able to see the change here. And tomorrow we will match the code into the master branch, and then we will go for production. Any other questions? So by tomorrow, I will run the both dev and then production infrastructure. And inside the production, I will add this IAM also. Today we added in development, right? So in tomorrow session, I will add the IAM profile in production also, and then we will work on it at a time, dev and production. If no questions, we can end the session. You try to make it work, okay? Because that gives you a lot of confidence while answering any question based on CI/CD and DevOps or scenario based or AWS, because we integrated almost everything. We integrated EC2, we integrated Route 53, we integrated VPC, we integrated IAM, okay, and we integrated Ansible with EC2. So almost every integration is done. So convince yourself about the process, how we did. Even you are not getting the 100% results while practice, it's fine, but you should be able to explain the process very well. Nobody will ask you to do this full setup while screen share. Okay, it's impossible to show this much process at the time of screen share. Okay, you need to explain it properly. That is the only thing you have to do. You have to convince for your process. Okay. So then that's all. Have a nice day. See you in tomorrow's session. Bye-bye.